Are you still single at 40? My kid is adorable and a genius.
This was Tyler, my best friend who had eloped with my fiancée 10 years ago. When we reunited after all this time, Tyler started boasting as if he had completely forgotten what had happened in the past. What? Did I say I was single? Tyler replied with a smirk, almost bursting out laughing.
You're single, right? I know you well. There's no need to put on a facade.
Feeling sorry for Tyler, who had wrongly assumed I was single, I smiled and said, "Let me introduce my daughter to you." The moment Tyler saw my daughter, his face turned pale. My name is John. I just turned 40 this year on my birthday. 10 years ago, I was engaged. Her name was Emily. We met at a singles event organized by the city. I remember thinking she seemed like a conscientious person when we first met. As we talked, we discovered that we both loved watching movies, and we quickly warmed up to each other and exchanged contact information. We continued to date smoothly, and not long after we met, I asked her to be my girlfriend. Both of us were shy, which might be why we got along so well and enjoyed spending time together. She often smiled, saying my calm personality was comforting to her. We moved in together without much arguing and even introduced each other to our parents. Since our families lived in the same city and were close by, they quickly became friends. Although we lived close enough to see each other whenever we wanted, living together with the intention of getting married was truly enjoyable. I fondly remember the happiness of coming home to someone I loved. We had been living together for a year. She said it was our anniversary of living together and threw a small celebration. In that moment, I spontaneously proposed to her. I hadn't prepared anything special, but I spoke from my heart.
I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
I immediately felt extremely embarrassed. However, she smiled shyly and responded,
If you want me, then I'm yours forever.
That ordinary day turned into the best day of my life. After that, everything went smoothly, from meeting each other's families to planning the wedding. Emily and I decided to submit our marriage certificate after the wedding, and we eagerly looked forward to that day. Everyone around us sincerely congratulated us, especially my best friend, Tyler, who was even more excited than I was. Tyler was my best friend from high school, and he was the one who invited me to the singles event where I met Emily. He was outgoing, had great leadership skills, and was loved by everyone. There were always people, both men and women, around him, and he was highly respected. If Tyler hadn't invited me that time, I wouldn't be where I am today. Tyler also looked after us a lot with the wedding preparations, joining us in the meetings with the venue staff. He adjusted the venue size and the number of guests, and whenever I felt anxious about the upcoming wedding, he encouraged me. In various situations, Tyler was a great support to me. Thanks to him, I was fully prepared for the wedding. The day before the wedding, I finished work as usual and headed home. Since I had taken some vacation time from tomorrow's wedding until the end of the honeymoon, I had stayed at the office quite late to finish up my tasks. But thinking that tomorrow I would become Emily's husband, even my tired and heavy body felt light, which was strange. I opened the door to my home with excitement.
Hi. Emily, where are you?
Even though Emily was supposed to be waiting, the lights were off. From the entrance, I could see that the room was completely empty, with everything gone. As I entered, puzzled, I noticed that some furniture was missing. The cupboard Emily liked and her dresser were gone. At first, I thought a burglar had broken in. Emily's jewelry and her banking card were also missing, so I was even more convinced it was a robbery. But then, I noticed a strange fact. For a break-in, my banking card was still there. If it were really a burglary, they would have taken my banking card that was right next to hers. Moreover, valuable items like jewelry, only my stuff was left behind. The room showed no signs of being ransacked except for the missing items, which made me uneasy. Most of all, I was worried about the fact that Emily, who should have been at home, was not there. I immediately called her, but she never answered. Emily had never stayed out without informing me, so I was extremely worried. Thinking she might have gone back to her parents' house, I contacted them as well. However, they hadn't heard anything from her either, and it seemed her parents couldn't reach Emily as well. That night, I couldn't sleep at all because of anxiety until the next morning. I should have been filled with joy on my wedding day, but instead, I headed to the venue filled with anxiety and confusion, because I thought she might have arrived there ahead of me. On the way, I received a call from Tyler's parents. It seemed they had lost contact with Tyler as well. The timing was too coincidental to ignore, and dark thoughts began to fill my mind. I tried contacting Tyler myself, but I couldn't reach him either, and eventually, I couldn't even get his phone to ring. Listening to the voicemail tone, I waited at the venue, hoping to hear from them. In the end, the wedding was canceled that day. With Emily's parents, I explained and apologized to our guests and asked them to leave after having a meal. After that, I was in shock and couldn't find the motivation to do anything, so I spent my days aimlessly in the apartment where Emily's belongings were missing. Since I had taken vacation time for the honeymoon, I didn't need to go to work. I stayed inside, not even checking the mailbox, but as my vacation neared its end, I knew I couldn't go on like this and decided to take action. As I was sorting through the pile of flyers and letters overflowing from the mailbox, I found a postcard. It was addressed to me, and the senders were Emily and Tyler, the ones I hadn't been able to contact. The moment I saw their names together, I couldn't help but predict the contents of the postcard. Turning it over, my suspicions were confirmed. They had eloped. According to the postcard, they grew close while helping with the wedding preparations and couldn't suppress their feelings, so they disappeared on the day of the wedding. Tyler mentioned in the postcard that he had been interested in Emily since the singles event and asked me to forgive her, a brazen request. Emily had taken her belongings, but left the remaining appliances as a parting gift for me, clearly showing they didn't feel guilty about their actions. There was no return address on the postcard, and the postmark had been blurred by recent rain. I regretted not checking the mailbox sooner, but it seemed there was no way to find their whereabouts. I contacted all our mutual friends, but no one knew where they were. In fact, everyone was shocked to learn about their relationship and took turns comforting me. Accepting that there was nothing more I could do, I reported the postcard situation to both their parents and my own. My parents comforted me, saying, "You've been through a lot," but both Tyler's and Emily's parents rushed to my apartment. They apologized to me and repeatedly apologized to my parents, who were there with me. They covered the cost of the wedding venue and the cancellation fees for the honeymoon, which was a great relief to me since I was too shocked to think about those expenses. The only good thing that came out of this was that I didn't end up getting divorced. Since we had planned to register our marriage after the wedding, my record remained clean, which I was truly grateful for. After that, I quickly moved out of the apartment filled with painful memories. My parents asked if I wanted to move back home, but I declined because I wanted to forget the past and start a new life. On the day I moved out, I finally felt like I could leave the painful memories behind and took my first steps with a sense of relief. 10 years later, I was enjoying my favorite coffee in a hotel lounge. Suddenly, someone called out to me. I turned around and saw a man standing at the hotel entrance. He looked quite flashy and, in a word, tacky. At first glance, he might have seemed wealthy, but upon closer inspection, his watch and shoes were scuffed, and his clothes were frayed at the cuffs and hem. He looked older than me because of his appearance, but maybe he's around my age. While I was thinking this, the man confidently approached me and called out again.
Is that you, John? Long time no see.
Well, who are you?
What? You don't remember me?
I'm not sure. I truly had no idea, so I asked him. Then the man frowned in frustration and said an unexpected name.
It's me, Tyler. How could you forget your best friend?
Tyler? No way.
I never thought I'd run into you here. This is a luxury hotel, after all.
Looking at him again, I saw a hint of his old self. It was indeed Tyler. But his appearance was so shabby compared to back then that I wouldn't have recognized him without being told. I was amazed at how much someone could change in 10 years. And more than anything, I was shocked at how he spoke to me so arrogantly after all this time. When we were close, he wasn't the type to act superior to others. Sorry, I didn't recognize you after 10 years. Do you come here often, Tyler?
What? Well, yeah. I come here a lot, but wait a minute. Do you come here too? There's no way you can just walk into a place this fancy.
Tyler seemed to think I was lying. His suspicious stare was unpleasant, but I tried to remain mature about it. I use this place occasionally. It's quiet and relaxing, and the service is excellent. Even after hearing my answer, Tyler crossed his arms and glared at me. It seemed he didn't like the idea that I frequented this hotel. We talked a bit more, and it seemed Tyler had completely forgotten about what happened 10 years ago. Or maybe he assumed that enough time had passed and I had forgiven him. I had nearly forgotten too, but the pain from that time hadn't faded. Despite this, Tyler didn't pick up on my feelings and started boasting about himself. His endless bragging left no room for me to interrupt, so I had no choice but to listen. As I was listening, a little girl came into the hotel, chasing after Tyler. She was a cute, young girl, but she seemed uncomfortable and shy in the hotel's atmosphere. However, Tyler didn't hold her hand. Instead, he looked at me with a smug expression.
By the way, John, are you still single at 40? My daughter is adorable and a genius. She recently joined a modeling agency, so she's super busy. She's also preparing for private school exams and has a lot on her plate.
Apparently, she was Tyler's child. She did have a pretty face, but she looked anxious and timid. It seemed like she was exhausted from being left behind during their walk and from the pressures of modeling and private school exams. However, Tyler continued bragging without paying any attention to his child's demeanor.
Having kids is really tough. Well, you wouldn't understand the hardships since you're still single.
What? Did I say I was single? Tyler replied with a smirk, almost bursting out laughing.
Well, you are single, right? I mean, a guy living alone in a tiny apartment like that isn't going to have a girlfriend. I know you well. There's no need to put on a facade.
Even though Tyler was laughing, I could sense a hint of anger in his tone. He had assumed I was single, continued to boast about himself, and then got angry over his assumptions. I felt a bit sorry for him. As he grew angrier, his voice got louder and louder. His voice echoed through the quiet hotel lounge, and people around us started glancing our way. Then I pondered for a moment, wondering what I should do. In the midst of this tense atmosphere, my daughter, Laura, and my wife, Barbara, came over, holding hands.
Daddy, what's going on? We could hear you talking from over there.
Tyler, let me introduce my family to you. This is my daughter, Laura, and my wife, Barbara. When I suddenly introduced my family, Tyler turned pale the moment he saw Laura.
What? Daughter and wife? That can't be right. That girl is way cuter than any idol, and she doesn't look anything like you.
Didn't you say you knew everything about me? I explained to the dumbfounded Tyler. Barbara is very beautiful. Laura, who inherited Barbara's genes, is also blessed with an adorable appearance. Not only that, but Barbara's family is highly accomplished. Her father and siblings all graduated top of their class from prestigious universities. They went on to start companies or take executive positions, excelling in their careers. Laura, too, seems to love studying just like Barbara, and she learns from her every day. Preparing for private school exams is tough. Laura received her acceptance letter from a private school last week.
What? The private school that announced results last week.
As I spoke, Tyler's face grew even paler. Since Tyler's child was also taking the private school entrance exam, he was well aware of the announcement date. There was only one school that announced results last week, and it was the top-ranked one. In fact, Laura had already taken the entrance exam for that private school's kindergarten. She excelled there as well, and her teachers assured us she would pass the elementary school entrance exam without any issues. Realizing that he couldn't compete with our children's academic achievements, Tyler seemed desperate to find some flaw in me. As he rambled on with trivial criticisms, Barbara tilted her head in confusion.
John, who is this person?
Oh, an old acquaintance. We lost touch due to certain circumstances. Tyler was blinking in surprise as I spoke with Barbara. The reason for his surprise was that Barbara and I were speaking in French. Barbara was a returnee who naturally slipped into French when she wasn't paying attention. I had majored in French in college, so we usually spoke both English and French at home. Although Tyler and I had known each other since high school, I had never bragged about my ability to speak French. So, it probably seemed to Tyler that I had suddenly started speaking French. After moving out of my old apartment, I joined the launch of a new project at work. I heard that we would be conducting business overseas, and that the local official language was French. Eager to take on a new challenge, I volunteered for the assignment. It was a difficult but rewarding project, and it kept me busy enough to forget the heartache of being betrayed by my best friend and fiancée. It was around that time that I met Barbara. Barbara showered me with unconditional love, and I reciprocated those feelings. Breaking up with Emily back then turned my life in a better direction. As Barbara and I continued our conversation, Tyler, who had been completely left out, suddenly got angry.
There's no way your wife is that stunning. This is crazy. She's the insanely beautiful model CEO who's been all over the media lately, right? She's even on the cover of parenting magazines with her daughter.
Barbara, like the rest of her family, is the CEO of the company she founded. Her beauty also made her popular in America, and she's often featured in the media as a CEO and model, making her somewhat of a celebrity.
And why can you speak so many foreign languages, John? What language are you even speaking?
French.
Shut up.
Tyler's sudden outburst of anger frightened both Laura and his own daughter.
I won't accept this. Why does John get to live a better life than me? You're supposed to be my sidekick. It pisses me off that you're more fortunate than I am.
Tyler continued to complain nonsensically, directing all his frustration at me. It seemed that the friend I had once thought of as cheerful and dependable had been looking down on me all along. At the singles event where I met my fiancée, Tyler probably made me his sidekick too. Then, when I got engaged before he did, he might have felt like he had lost and decided to take my fiancée from me. I silently watched the scene unfold, but Barbara, unable to overlook the situation, started to speak calmly.
The children are both scared, and this is causing a disturbance in the hotel. I don't know what kind of relationship you had with John, but if you continue to insult my dear husband, I won't tolerate it.
Tyler seemed shocked by Barbara's firm words and fell silent, his mouth opening and closing without a sound. It was only then, in the silence, that he noticed the cold stares from those around us. Feeling cornered, Tyler let out an incoherent groan and started kicking the hotel furniture and plants in a fit of rage. Seeing Tyler throw a tantrum like a child, I was both astonished and unsure how to stop him. He was so violent that I feared getting injured if I intervened. Protecting the children was the priority. Since the children were innocent, I decided to shield both Laura and Tyler's daughter. A while later, the police arrived, apparently contacted by the hotel staff. Despite being restrained by several officers, Tyler continued to resist and pointed at me.
It's not my fault. John has been mocking me all along.
However, since everyone had witnessed Tyler's outburst, no one blamed me. Thanks to the hotel staff's detailed explanation to the police, they understood the situation and took Tyler away. They couldn't leave his daughter alone in the hotel, so she was taken to the police station as well. I felt sorry for her, but there was nothing I could do. I just watched as Tyler was noisily taken away, and his daughter followed him with a blank expression. After that, Tyler caused a lot of trouble for the police because they couldn't get in touch with his wife, Emily. Later, I heard from my parents that Tyler and Emily were actually in the middle of a divorce settlement. Apparently, the reason was Tyler's infidelity, and Emily, fed up with him, had left. Since they couldn't keep Tyler's daughter at the police station indefinitely, the police contacted Tyler's parents to take custody of her. Tyler's parents later reached out to me, apologizing profusely for causing trouble again, just as they had 10 years ago. I felt really sorry for his parents, having to apologize on his behalf, and I was utterly exasperated with Tyler for not learning his lesson. Sometime later, Tyler's parents informed me that their divorce had been finalized. Tyler's run-in with the police might have been the final straw in the divorce decision. After that, Tyler tried to rely on his parents, but they refused to help him, so he attempted to move in with his mistress. However, she had moved without telling him, leaving him with no place to go. Now, he's surviving on temporary jobs, moving from one cheap boarding house to another. Emily is reportedly living a poor life in a small apartment. She still goes through cycles of getting new boyfriends and breaking up, leading to an unstable life. It seems she has no intention of taking custody of her daughter, so Tyler's parents have decided to raise her. Possibly due to the pain caused by Tyler's infidelity, Emily never showed much affection for her daughter. When asked if she wanted to live with her parents, the girl would only tilt her head, not expressing a desire to return to either Tyler or Emily. Over time, Tyler's parents showered their granddaughter with love, and she began to show a cheerful smile appropriate for her age. Every time my family visited my parents, we would also check in on Tyler's parents to see how things were going. Tyler's daughter has now grown into a lively girl and has become very good friends with Laura. They laugh and play together whenever they meet, and I feel that things have turned out for the best. As for me, I've continued to focus on my work. My relationship with Barbara remains strong, and we recently found out that we're expecting our second child. When we told Laura she was going to have a sibling, she was overjoyed. When she strokes Barbara's large belly and talks to the baby, she can feel the baby moving in response. We cherish this new life on the way and look forward to continuing our peaceful family life together.